This happened to me and my girlfriend Rachel last year when we booked an Airbnb deep in the mountains of North Carolina. We both work in stressful city jobs and needed to disconnect. Rachel found this rustic log cabin that had stellar reviews, a fireplace, hiking trails nearby, complete isolation, perfect for a quiet weekend away. The listing said, "Historic cabin built in the early 1900s. Restored, but still holds its original charm." That should have been our first red flag. When we got there, it was late afternoon. The air was crisp, and the trees were so thick you could barely see 20 feet into the woods. The house looked beautiful, but aged. Moss-covered stone steps, dark wood siding, creaky front porch. There was a lockbox with a key. Inside was a note from the host. "Make yourselves at home. Fireplace wood is stacked near the porch. Do not try to open the upstairs bedroom. It is locked for a reason." That last line felt ominous. We figured maybe it was a storage room or had fragile furniture. Either way, we weren't there to explore, just relax. The first night was peaceful. We made dinner, opened some wine, watched a movie. But as we got into bed around midnight, we heard something. Footsteps, slow, heavy, coming from upstairs. Rachel looked at me wide-eyed. I grabbed a flashlight, tiptoed up the narrow stairs. The door at the top was old and locked, just like the host said. But when I got close, I swear I heard faint breathing behind it. I stood there frozen for maybe a full minute. Nothing. The next day, we went for a hike and tried to forget about it. But that night, things got worse. We were sitting in the living room when Rachel looked up at the ceiling and whispered, "Do you hear that?" I muted the TV. It was unmistakable now, dragging sounds, like furniture scraping across wood. I went back upstairs, still locked, but now there were fresh scratch marks around the door handle, human nails, chipped paint. I called the host. He didn't answer, just sent a text hours later. "It's an old house, probably animals in the walls." I grew up in an old farmhouse. That wasn't an animal. The third night, we heard whispers, not words, just a low, indecipherable muttering, like a prayer or a chant. It was 2:13 a.m. Rachel begged me not to go upstairs, but I had to see. I pushed my ear to the door, and this time I heard a soft knock from the other side. Not a random noise. A single, deliberate knock. I bolted back downstairs, locked the bedroom door, and we stayed up until sunrise. We left that morning. Didn't care about a refund, just wanted to leave. But here's the kicker. A week later, I got curious and reverse image searched the cabin photos from the listing. I found the exact same cabin on an old blog. The post was from 2009. The title? "Local Ghost Story, The Silent Man Upstairs, North Carolina's Most Haunted Rental." The blog said a man had gone missing in that house. He rented it alone, just like we did. Locals claimed he was possessed, locked himself in the upstairs room and never came out. They found his body weeks later, face down, clawing at the inside of the door. It was that room. And the scratches, they were on the inside, too. My name's Kevin, and I've always had a love-hate relationship with traveling solo. I like the quiet, the freedom, but sometimes the silence has teeth. Last year, after a rough breakup and some burnout at work, I decided to escape. A digital detox. No phone, no Wi-Fi, just me, a few books, and the wilderness. I booked this remote cabin in Vermont I found through a smaller rental site, not Airbnb. The price was suspiciously low for a full cabin in peak fall season, but I chalked it up to being off the beaten path. The email confirmation came from someone named Margaret H. No phone number, just directions and a warning. GPS won't work. Follow the printed directions carefully. Do not try to take alternate roads, and do not walk into the woods at night. Okay, weird, but rustic places are quirky. I packed light and hit the road. After a long drive in a bumpy, unpaved road lined with birch trees, I finally found the place. Except there was no driveway, just a narrow walking path into the trees. My GPS had already cut out miles ago. I double-checked the printed directions. They clearly said, "Cabin will be visible from the clearing." I parked my car on the side of the dirt road, grabbed my bags, and walked in. After maybe 10 minutes of walking through unnaturally quiet woods, I saw it. The cabin. A small, faded structure with a green tin roof. But something felt off immediately. There were no tire tracks, no sign anyone had been there in months. The porch sagged under my weight. Inside was dusty, but not abandoned. A kettle on the stove, fresh sheets on the bed. There were candles, a wood stove, and an old journal on the table. The journal looked like a guest log. First entry, June 14th, beautiful place, very peaceful. Will return. Then, July 3rd, strange noises in the woods. Thought I saw someone near the trees. Then, further down, August 21st, something's wrong. I walked for hours and can't find the road. Cabin appears again no matter which direction I go. I think I'm trapped. That entry stopped mid-sentence. I dropped the journal and stepped outside, looked around. Suddenly, that missing driveway felt like more than an oversight. That night, the sound started. Not animals, not wind. Whistling, soft, rhythmic. It came from different directions, like it was circling the cabin. I lit candles, blocked the windows with bed sheets, and sat in the center of the room with a fireplace poker. I didn't sleep. At 3:12 a.m., I heard footsteps on the porch. Then a single knock. Then nothing. In the morning, I packed up and started walking back the way I came. After 20 minutes, there was no road, just trees. More walking, still nothing. After maybe an hour, I was back at the cabin. I told myself I must have circled around. I marked a tree with my knife and walked away from it. An hour later, I found the same tree. It was like the forest had no edge. On the third day, I stopped trying to leave. I rationed food, lit fires at night, and reread the journal entries. Someone had drawn a map on the last page. Strange symbols and loops. I copied it and followed the path. It led to a small clearing with a stone circle, like a pagan ritual site. There were bones in the middle. Some animal. That night, the knocking came back. Not one knock, 3. Then the door creaked open, but no one entered. Just the whistling, closer now. I stayed curled in the corner until daylight. On the 5th day, I finally heard something. An engine. I ran through the woods, screaming. It was a ranger's truck. I burst into tears when he opened the door. He looked at me, confused. "How the hell did you get all the way out here?" He told me the area I'd been found in didn't have any cabins. Hadn't for years. There'd been a fire that wiped out a cluster of vacation homes back in 1997. I told him about the cabin, the journal, the path. He shook his head. "That cabin burned down decades ago. You shouldn't be here." When I looked back, there was nothing, just trees. I never found that listing again. The email from Margaret H. stopped working. And sometimes at night, I still hear the whistling. I booked an Airbnb in a small historic town near Salem, Massachusetts, mostly because it looked cheap, clean, and quiet. I just needed a weekend away from everything: my job, my family, my stress. The listing said, "Private retreat, total privacy, self-check-in." Sounded perfect. The host never messaged me personally. All instructions were automated. Access code, check-in time, and a line that said, "You'll be our only guest, ever." I thought it was just quirky branding. I should have taken it literally. When I arrived, the house looked like a picture-perfect New England cottage. White shutters, a picket fence, and a dense forest wrapping around the property. Inside, it was clean, but oddly sterile, like it had never actually been lived in. There were no personal touches, no books, photos, or decorations, just blank walls, a few modern furnishings, and an old grandfather clock that didn't work. I unpacked and settled into the bedroom, but noticed something weird. There was only one fork, one plate, one towel, one pillow. Everything was in singles, like the place wasn't made for hosting people, but containing them. That night, I heard footsteps upstairs, but there wasn't an upstairs. The listing clearly said it was a one-story cottage. I checked every room again. No stairs, no attic, just a plain ceiling. But I could hear them, slow, deliberate footsteps, pacing, pausing, dragging. I tried calling the host. The number was disconnected. The next morning, I found muddy footprints in the living room, barefoot, and mine were clean. I slept with the door locked. I packed up, tried to leave early, but the front door wouldn't open. The keypad flashed red no matter what code I tried. I even busted a window to climb out, but behind the glass was just more wall, solid drywall, like the house was rebuilding itself. Then came the mirror. There was one above the hallway console, antique-looking, foggy. I walked past it, but caught something out of the corner of my eye. My reflection didn't move. It stood still, then smiled at me, a slow, sinister grin, and then it turned and walked away, into the mirror. I screamed. I ran to the bathroom. Same thing. My reflection was off, slightly delayed, subtly different. It was watching me like it knew me, but I didn't know it. I tried smashing that mirror. Nothing happened. No cracks. Just a hollow thud like I was hitting stone. I decided to spend the rest of the night on the couch with a knife in my hand and my back against the wall. But somewhere around 3 a.m., I heard a voice, my own voice, whispering from the bedroom, "Come see what you left behind." I should have left. I should have stayed on that couch. But I got up and walked to the room. The bed was empty. But in the reflection of the window, I saw myself asleep in bed. I blinked, looked back. The bed was still empty. I looked in the reflection again. There I was, lying still, peacefully sleeping, until the version of me in the bed opened its eyes and looked straight at me. That's when I passed out. I woke up in the driveway next to my car. The house was behind me, locked, quiet. It was morning. I bolted to my car and drove. When I got home, I deleted the app, left a negative review, but it disappeared the next day. The listing, gone. The host, deleted. I thought I had escaped. Until last week. I got a package in the mail, no return address. Inside was a photo of me, sleeping on that Airbnb bed. On the back, it said in handwriting I recognized, "You never really checked out. Check-out time doesn't always mean you leave."